Today on Cruise In, owning a classic car can be a financial investment.
I like taking it to get ice cream and pumpkins with my grandkids.
As well as an investment in the family.
The Barris Hirohata Merc and the Polynesian are considered the two best customs of the 50s.
We have the Polynesian on the show today.
About 800 to 1,000 miles, it'll use a gallon of oil.
Ah, the good old days, when gas was 21 cents a gallon and a Rolls-Royce was $22,000. Plus,
we're going to talk about insurance for classic cars and how you should insure your classic vehicle.
The Buckeye guys offered tips on insuring your classic. How about this?
Never gave me any trouble.
If I have this, I'd always be in trouble. Cruise In starts right now.
Hi, and welcome to Akron, Ohio at Tadero's. It's a beautiful day. I'm Will Burge, and welcome to Cruise In. This week, joining me is Bernie Golias, and we're at the
La Macchina Molto bella.
Easy for him to say. I feel Italian. What's easier to do is look at these awesome cars, so why don't we check them out?
Let's go. What a beautiful car.
Well, thank you, sir.
Can you tell us something about it?
Well, it's a 1912 Cadillac. As we talked earlier, I was looking for a Model T, but I wanted a Model T I could paint a color, not one that was black. So I looked and couldn't find one, so I did an online search for something else similar style and found this, which is, as I said, a 1912 Cadillac. Bought it about 5 years ago. Found it in California, Southern California. Had been restored back in the 1960s. Needed a refreshening, so we restored the car. It took us about a year. The car's painted red with black fenders, and we did some research on it and found out that that is the original color combination when the car was bought new. It was an option to have it painted a color other than blue, but this is red just like the one in the museum in Hershey for the AACA national organization. In fact, with their help, it was amazing how much input we got from them to restore the car. Had the wrong carburetor and some wrong features when we bought the car, but we put it all back as it was originally sold. They consider it to be a milestone car because it had a lot of unique features new for 1912. One of which is electric start. The other are electric lights, demountable wheels that you could take off with a wrench instead of a spud bar, and plated trim versus brass. So you put all those things together, and it was the first time for a production car to have all those features. And it runs and starts just as original. It's got an electric horn, which was a $25 option, and 1912, $25 was a lot of money. The car sold new for about $1,800, and as equipped, it sold for just right around $1,900 with the features and the shipping to get it from Detroit down to California where it was sold new.
Well, you know quite a bit about the car. Can you tell us a little bit about the motor?
It's a 4-cylinder engine. It's about 248 cubic inches. And again, it's electric start, and this is the first year for an electric starter as a standard feature on a car. There were some other automatic start options at the time, but this was the first factory devised, and it's a Kettering starter. All the Cadillacs from 1903 to 1914 used that same design engine. It was Henry Leyland's own goofy design, but it worked well.
Now, when you ride it, how fast do you go with it, and what's the horsepower that drives it?
Well, they call it the Model 30 because it's a 30 horse, but it actually was more than that. And it's comfortable to drive around 35 miles an hour. It'll go much faster than that, but it's only got 2-wheel brakes, and it's a very, very heavy car. And I don't feel comfortable going faster than that.
What do you like most about this car?
I like taking it to get ice cream and pumpkins with my grandkids, which is the biggest reason we bought this car. And love to drive it, and it's so interesting to talk to people at shows or any kind of an event, even a shopping center. When people come up and look at the car, they always ask the darndest questions, and it's amazing different way people perceive a car like this.
Okay, well, I thank you so much, Rick. It looks like it's a beautiful car, and we appreciate you bringing it out today.
And it's an invitation meeting. I was glad to be invited.
All right, Gene, this is a very cool car. What are you standing next to here?
I'm standing next to the famous Polynesian, which was a customized 50 Oldsmobile out of Burbank, California, 1952.
How long have you had this?
I bought the car in 1970, which was a complete pile of junk. It needed everything, and it took us about 9 months to completely restore the car. We restored it to exactly the way Valley Custom had customized it in '52. It was done in 1952.
Wow. And where did you find it at? Where did you find that pile of junk?
Ironically, I saw this car when I was about 12 years old in Portage Lakes, and we're coming home from swimming, and there's a big crowd of people around in the parking lot, so we go over and look, and here's this purple car. And this, we're talking 1953. And so that's the first time I saw the car. And then we walked away, and I never saw the car until 1970 when I found it in an old barn down in Canton.
Was it something you were looking for, or you just stumbled across
Oh no, I was looking for it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was at a New Year's Eve party, and a friend of mine who was going to Kent State, and we were talking about cars, and I said my favorite custom was the Polynesian that was built by Valley Custom, and I told him I saw it when I was young, and he said, well, I was going to Kent one day, going to class, and here's this car sitting on campus, and he thought it was a Studebaker. And there's a little plaque on the side of the roof that says the Polynesian by Valley Custom. So he looked at it a couple times on campus, and then he didn't see it again. And so I said to myself, you know, I wonder if that car is still around. So I went through 6 owners, starting with Jack Stewart, who actually had it built originally. And the last owner didn't have a phone. So I had to go to Robertsville, which is east of East Canton, and finally found the car in this barn, and it needed everything.
What was the original customization of this? What was the inspiration behind that? Do you know?
The Barris Hirahata Merc and the Polynesian are considered the 2 best customs of the 50s from Southern California.
And that's amazing, from your childhood, seeing it one time in a custom stand to a pile of junk in a barn somewhere.
Yeah, it wasn't my life's goal to buy it.
Yeah.
It's just at that New Year's Eve party, and I thought, I wonder if it's still around, and we found it. It was inbred in me as a young kid, that seeing hot rods that boyfriends of my sister had, so I was hooked on hot rods. And the only thing sad about this is I take it to a show like this, the young guys will walk by this car to look at a Mustang. They don't understand the craftsmanship and all of the designing and stuff that went into this car.
Yeah, as I said, we saw it and were drawn right to it to come over to it. And I'll tell you what, if you're ever looking for a second career, I think detective's in your future too, the way you track this thing down.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that original interior? You redid the interior
Everything
too?
is exactly the way they did in '52. It's just all new.
Yeah.
They had leatherette, but I did leather inside, but the same colors, lemon yellow.
It's a piece of art and a piece of history.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Coming up,
It's a survivor car, a real nice driver car.
it's a Rolls-Royce, and it's next on Cruise In. Welcome back to the 2016 Macchina Molto Car Show in Akron, Ohio.
This is a 1929 Rolls-Royce Regent convertible coupe. They made about 26 or 27 of these cars in Springfield, Massachusetts. It is a 6-cylinder with a 3-speed transmission. This car had overdrive installed on it in the last 7 years. We bought this car in May, and we've just started to drive it and kind of understand these Rolls-Royce cars.
The car was purchased new by Winifred Dodge, the daughter of the Dodge brothers, the oldest daughter of the Dodge brothers. And we have most of the history of the car. I think we're just missing about 8 to 10 years in the 30s. And the car's only been available twice in the past 60 years. Jack Truffney was a longtime owner, a local owner, who drove and enjoyed this car immensely for probably 50 years. So it's been it's a survivor car, a real nice driver car.
Well, that's a good reason to have one, isn't it? Everybody should have a Rolls, 29 especially. Is the upholstery original?
We believe it is, yes.
Yes.
The dash is all original, and steering wheel and so forth is original. The body is the original body, as the motor is the original motor.
Is the paint combination, is that something that was unique to that car, or is that just something that throughout history?
The paint was changed. The car was originally delivered black, and we believe Jack repainted the car white in the late 40s, early 50s, or middle 50s.
Yeah, the interior we believe is the original color though.
Right.
Do you know what the price was when this was new, what it was sold for?
$22,000.
Do you take this out for a lot of drives?
We've started to drive it. We're kind of learning how to drive it. It's a bit of a challenge a little bit.
Right now we need 2 of us to drive it or operate it. We're
This
not
car,
that good at
it gets about 11 miles per gallon, and it uses about a gallon of oil, about 800 to 1,000 miles it'll use a gallon of oil.
Yeah, well, it looks like a showstopper to me.
Definitely, definitely.
All right, Lou, this is an absolute beauty. What are you standing next to here?
It's a 1984 Lamborghini Countach.
And you do not see many of these, do you?
Well, not a whole lot, but they're out there, quite a few of them.
How long have you had this?
I bought it in '86.
Oh, wow.
'86, yeah.
And it was, I imagine, just about brand new at that point, right?
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Yeah?
It's an old. I drive it. It's a driver. It's not.
Really?
It's not a show car or anything, but I enjoy it. It's a nice car.
Well,
Never gave me any trouble.
I beg to differ that it's not a show car. It's been surrounded by people taking pictures all day. I think that makes it a show car, doesn't it?
The only problem I've ever had with it is the clutch, the throttle bearing carrier assembly broke, and the clutch went to the floor. So it required an engine out service. So I had to take the engine out of it, and it's been basically bulletproof. It's never had any problems other than that the throttle bearing carrier assembly.
And this is, when you see people with the newer versions of these, are they always looking at you like, what do you got over there?
Yeah, they look at me like I'm nuts.
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes it's like I'm driving the Starship Enterprise around. I'm almost embarrassed. In fact, I am embarrassed sometimes driving it around. It's like I want to get in there and hide, you know.
Well, if you're too embarrassed and you want to get rid of it, you can hand it to me. Don't worry about it. I'll take it off your hands, no problem. There's a lot of unique features on this. What are some of the more unique things on this car?
Well, it's got what they call beetle doors. They come straight up. It's got a longitudinal V12 motor, 5 liters. It makes I think the horsepower rating was like 375, something like that. And it's got, it's carbureted. It's got 4 Weber 3-barrel carburetors. So there's one throttle bore for every cylinder, and they're right above the intake port. It's kind of a unique setup that they have.
And right behind the windows, the vents there. That's pretty unique too. What is that?
Well, they're the air intakes. They take in air for the fans that cool the motor. There's one on each side.
It's got a pretty aggressive fin on the back too.
Yeah, that was like an option from the factory. That's you could get it without or with the well, you would call it. It's called a airfoil.
And how fast can this get up to if you got up to top speed?
This is an older one. This is an 84. I think top speed on them when 84 was about 186 miles an hour or something like that.
Have you ever gotten it up that high?
No. I've never even put the pedal down on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I drive it real conservatively. Yeah.
Now, when you run into people who have newer models of this same car, are they asking you a bunch of questions?
Yeah, a lot of times. But it's unique. It's just a car guy thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fun. It's a unique situation. I've always liked cars.
It's like something straight out of Miami Vice.
Yeah, different. It's different.
Well, we appreciate you showing it to us. It's absolutely gorgeous, and keep driving this bad boy.
Well, thank you for having me.
Next up,
The estimate from the insurance adjuster is more than the car is insured for, and then the insurance company will want you to scrap your classic car.
the Buckeye guys give you tips on how to insure your classic. Next.
Welcome to this edition of Cruising with the Buckeye guys. Today, we're going to talk about insurance for classic cars and how you should insure your classic vehicle. What we see in the industry today is everybody's uninsuring their classic motor vehicles, and the reason being, it's probably to save a few dollars. But Don, what did we find out what happens when you underinsure your classic vehicle? If you're in a wreck, what happens?
The problem comes in is that if you have a $100,000 car and you're only insuring it for $20,000, you know, you're losing out on all kinds of money if anything should happen.
And also, we've seen it too when they've gotten their, say, $40,000 Camaro in a wreck, and it's only insured for $15,000. It comes in for work, and the estimate's greater than $15,000. The insurance company's going to scrap that car unless you come up with the money to fix it.
Even though the car is really worth $40,000.
Correct,
right?
correct. It's underinsured. It's agreed value with these classic insurance companies. When you do the agreed value coverage, like my personal car, Mustang I have it insured for about $85,000. I think it cost me a little over $600 a year for full coverage. And it has towing on it as well. And that's through Hagerty. And what we do is, like we've seen, these cars come in, they're damaged. Insurance adjuster will come out. The estimate from the insurance adjuster is more than the car is insured for, and then the insurance company will want you to scrap your classic car. So for the extra few dollars, it's best to just insure it for what it's worth.
You know, another thing to talk about would be using a classic car insurance if you have a classic car. If you use, you know, regular insurance on a classic car, the fix for the issues if there were an accident are not the same.
Correct. They're based on collision rates and collision fixes, which in the classic car restoration market and industry, the collision rates do not work.
Traditional insurances, they're paying, you know, remove, paint, and reinstall. Basically, that's how they're doing all these brand new cars and newer cars out there.
They're using a program called the Mitchell software too, which gives you estimates, but they're OEM parts, they're good used parts they're putting on. They're not something that's made in Taiwan that doesn't fit to begin with.
They're
and
also
hours and hours that take to put a quarter panel on a classic car. It could be 40 hours to fit one. And the insurance companies that are for the OEM stuff, the traditional ones, they do not give that window for classic cars. With the unfortunate circumstances of if you're in an accident with your classic car, we at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration will work with your insurance company to get your classic car back to you better than new in a timely manner.
There's more great cars coming up from Todero's in Akron, Ohio, so don't go anywhere. Cruise In's coming right back.
From project to pride and joy, the restoration specialists at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration can make your dreams come true. Our master body, paint, and mechanical technicians have over 100 years of experience. They do research, can communicate every detail of the restoration process, and their restorations win big-time awards. Buckeye Classic Car Restoration cars have been winning awards since 2001. Let the restoration specialists at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration turn your project into an award winner. Now back to the 2016 La Macchina Molto Bella Car Show in Akron, Ohio.
All right, Myron, we appreciate you landing your spaceship here today for us. This is awesome. What is this?
It's a 1948 Davis, Davis Devon, one of 17 made, actually in an aircraft factory in Van Nuys, California.
Really? And it's only 3 wheels, correct?
3 wheels, chassis designed by Frank Curtis.
And why only 17? Why was only 17 made?
Yeah, you know, the guy that was building it went to jail.
It happened a lot in that era, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a Tucker story. It's like a Tucker Light story.
That's something else. So this is one of 17, and it's why is it shaped so uniquely? Is it just it had his individual vision, or?
It was based on a concept car that Frank Curtis built for Joel Thorne, wealthy industrialist in California during the war. And yeah, it was just kind of the beginning of the supersonic age, so it was just kind of something that appealed.
How long have you had it?
I've had about 5 or 6 years.
And how do you come across something like that? Did you know this was out there before you got it?
Well, you know, you put the word out when you're looking for a Davis, and it took about 2 years. Actually, this car was offered to a friend, and my friend decided not to buy it, and I bought it, and ever since he's been telling me he should have bought it.
He's kicking himself, I'd imagine.
That's right.
How does this drive? I have to know, because you'd think with the 3 wheels, it's a little...
The problem with this car is it is just great when you're going down the road, and you build little overconfidence. So you have to really be careful when you're going around a curve, because the law of physics at some point really kicks in. But it's a very, very stable car. Frank Curtis was a terrific chassis designer, did a lot of Indy cars at the time. So it's about as safe as a three-wheel car with a front single wheels ever going to be.
And it looks like a bumper car.
Yeah, it's because Gary Davis, who had the whole vision for doing this, after he went to jail, he was let out after a couple of years with the understanding that he would never go into the car business, and he found immediate fame and fortune in developing the bumper car business. So.
I say it looks just like one. I mean, this is a heck of a lot fancier,
Right.
that's for sure. So did you have to do anything to it when you got it, or was it in?
Pretty much bought it as is. We dialed it in mechanically, so it's safe to drive and fun to drive, but otherwise, cosmetically, it's exactly how we bought it.
Of those 17 that were made, how many are still out there?
16 are still exist. We know there are 2 are in museums. One's in the Lane Motor Museum in Nashville, the other one in the Peterson Museum in California. The rest are in private hands. The one that is gone was actually bought by Reliant in the 60s to study, shipped to England, and when they were done with it, rather than pay the customs duty on it or ship it back, they crushed it.
One of 17, they just crushed it and threw it away. That must be nice.
Yeah.
And what kind of engine's in it?
This has a Nash 6-cylinder. There's one other that has a flathead 4, and all the rest have Continental 4-cylinders.
So how fast could this go?
That's, you know what, I'm not going to test that. I have no idea. It's a very light car. The engine is 110 horsepower. Straight line speed would probably do close to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, you don't want to get out there and test that. Your life's worth a little bit more than figuring that out, right?
No.
What's the most fun part about driving? Is it just everybody looking at it? Is it crazy to handle? What's your favorite part?
You know, it's just a unique driving experience. You know, I really don't notice the people looking at it because it's full on concentration when you're driving this car. But just a unique driving experience.
Oh, this is amazing. We appreciate you bringing it out. Thank you so much for showing it to us.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
What a great day out here in Akron, Ohio. Unbelievable cars. And Bernie, we got some thanks to hand out.
Yes, Frank Tadero and the Tadero family, and everybody that brought these beautiful cars. Thank you.
Unbelievable cars today. And thanks to you for tuning in. I'm Will Burge saying so long for Bernie Goliath. Until next time on Cruise In.